Saskatoon's had a great year economically. You continue to basically set the standard for the country and set the standard for the province of Saskatchewan. So it's a great year. It's a great place to do business. It's also a great place to host events, but only because of amazing people, leaders in the community who are prepared to do what it takes to pull those events off, international events. And so Jack Brodsky and Hugh Vassos, thank you again. I haven't had a chance to officially recognize your work on behalf of the province of Saskatchewan. Thank you for the World Juniors. What an amazing event they were for the entire province. So this is a great city to do business, in which to do business. It's a great city to attend events, to host events. And Amazon.ca last week said it was also the most romantic city in Canada. Hugh, I don't know if you had anything to do with that. No, he says. But I just want to say to all the men from Saskatoon who may be here, if you've contributed to this, you know, the wives of those of us who are not from Saskatoon have all read this article, and then they put the article down and they look directly at us. And so I just want to say to all the husbands here from Saskatoon, all the men from Saskatoon, thanks a lot. That was particularly helpful to the rest of us. Ladies and gentlemen, there is much to be said about the state of Saskatchewan today. But too much puts at risk a central theme that I may want to humbly offer on an occasion such as this. So, it's not my intent to run down a long list of things that I believe we've all achieved together here in the province of Saskatchewan, or even the city of Saskatoon over the last year, or even over the last 2 years. I will not read from the list of investments that the government has made in the social, academic, economic, and infrastructure life of our largest city here in Saskatoon. It's around $793,729,899 and some cents, but I don't have the exact number today. But I do hope to proffer today a more focused message. I had an object lesson just a couple of months ago on the difficulty of trying to communicate a message by being too subtle or too cute. And the lesson was given me by our youngest daughter, Faith. This was just at the end of last year, and I was home on a Friday with the kids and trying to get them all off to school, and Faith was the last one. And so about the time that she was finishing up breakfast, the Leader Post came. And I opened up the Leader Post, and on the front page of the Leader Post was the report on a poll in Saskatchewan. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, in all modesty, the poll was pretty good. You know, they're only snapshots in time and they can change, but this particular poll was pretty positive about the government. It was even fairly positive, I would say, about myself. There was a picture of me and a big sort of headline about how well things were going, comparatively speaking. And so I took the newspaper over, feeling pretty good about myself, frankly. Too good, arguably. I took the paper over and I threw it on the table in front of Faith. She was just finishing up her dino eggs. I'm not sure how that became a breakfast, but that's one of her favorites. And I just pointed at it and I said, "Faithy, what do you think of that?" And she sort of kept eating and looked over and said, "Cool, A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey's coming out." Sometimes you actually have to maybe point at the headline. You can't be too subtle. You need to be a bit more direct. And so let me say that the headline I would point to today, whether one would say something like this, and very simply: the state of Saskatchewan is strong. And in this, we may not understand just how uniquely positioned we are in Saskatchewan. Today, Saskatchewan is strong. And for all of the right reasons, we're different than almost any other jurisdiction in our country, than in almost any other jurisdiction on the continent. And so it's up to all of us then to build on that strength and to build on that uniqueness in the coming years and set the foundation for momentum for the next number of years for future generations, frankly. And I believe we will set that foundation with this budget that's upcoming in this year. We're coming out of a worldwide recession in a good spot. I think we've heard again around the tables and the anecdotal discussions about how we haven't been unscathed by the recession, but things are comparatively strong here in Saskatoon and in the province. We are in a good position. You know, a couple of years ago when we were fortunate enough to be elected to be the governor of Saskatchewan, there was $6.8 billion in debt in the province. There was $1.2 billion in the savings account, which is very positive. Today there's $4.2 billion in debt in Saskatchewan and about $600 million and growing, more on that in a moment, in terms of the cash that's in the savings account. That's a net improvement in the fiscal position of the province of Saskatchewan of $2 billion. It's owed to people in this room. It's owed to others in the economy who have led what has been a unique story across North America. And ladies and gentlemen, we are expected to lead the nation in economic growth this year and next, according to most forecasters. Families here are earning more than they have before. We know that as Statistics Canada produces the average weekly earnings report. Thanks to historic tax cuts on the income tax side and with respect to property tax, they're taking more of their earnings home. We've got the lowest unemployment rate in the country. Saskatoon and Regina are the best cities in the country in terms of the lowest rate of unemployment. The Fraser Institute yearly provincial climate index shows Saskatchewan is the second best place to invest in the country. So we've got a little bit of work to do, but we are the second best place to invest according to that index. Interestingly, though, our province has 5 of the top 10 spots in the Financial Post CFIB listing of Canada's top business-friendly cities. And hats off to the Saskatoon Chamber and businesses in this community. Saskatoon, as rated by the Financial Post and the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, is the #1 city in terms of business friendliness. And that is owed again in part to the municipal leadership here, but also more importantly to the businesses right here in Saskatoon. Citing aggressive debt reduction, continued fiscal prudence, and sound economic fundamentals, the Dominion Bond Rating Agency has given Saskatchewan a credit rating upgrade. Our government intends on continuing with its long-term growth agenda, systematically identifying barriers to growth with a view towards their elimination, reducing the regulatory burden on small business, striking the right balance in terms of our labor legislative environment, making key infrastructure investments and significant capital investments for the province, lowering taxes on growth when it's affordable and sustainable, and leading the country in terms of an aggressive innovation agenda in the areas of energy and the environment, of ag biotech potential here in Saskatoon, and yes, adding value to our uranium. These are all elements, central elements of our growth agenda that we will press forward with in the coming months and years. But I want to focus today on maybe what is, in my view, the most important part of any successful growth agenda. The pillar of any successful growth agenda is, in my view and in the view of the government, fiscal stewardship, fiscal responsibility, fiscal probity. It's the most important part of a growth agenda because it pays for all the rest. An innovation agenda is expensive. Lowering taxes costs money. Building bridges, Mayor Atch, is expensive. Educating our young people is a costly item as well. What we need to do to ensure that we can sustain those elements of a growth agenda and sustain our leadership position in the nation is we need to ensure we have fiscal stewardship today, that we have laid the groundwork for affordability and sustainability in the years to come. We live and move and have our political being in an age where structural deficits, borrowing to cover annual shortfalls, are de rigueur. Economists have for months been counseling the public sector and decision makers that it's okay in such a time as this to engage in structural deficits that require a debt lift, borrowing to finance annual operating budgets. It's okay, they say, to do that for a season and then return to balanced budgets. This may sound completely rational on paper.